What is up, everybody? Oh boy, I was gone for a week. I apologize for that. February and March, two of my busiest months of the year. Taxes, license renewals, all this nonsense. I finally got a day to shoot, so I'm going to try to shoot at least 3 videos today. And I'm going to do a warm-up. HalfLifeSistah.com for the merch. You already know how we do it here. Patreon is how you support us. And like I said, to warm me up from being out a little bit, Aaron, you sent me a request. You signed up for Patreon. You were a new member, and you signed up for the year. And as a reward for signing up for that year, I want to do, you said you like W.A.S.P, you said you like old school heavy metal. I know some W.A.S.P songs, so I gave you the songs that I know, and then you sent me a song that I haven't heard, which is Heaven's Hung in Black. You only said Hung in Black, but there is no Hung in Black, so I'm assuming you mean Heaven's Hung in Black. I'm going to go ahead and just warm up with this one. And like I've said on this channel before, you know, I used to look at like traditional heavy metal or shock heavy metal, all this stuff, you know, that W.A.S.P and all the other guys were in, as kind of like almost pop music. In my world, it was like pop music. I said this on the Aussie reaction when I did it, because I was so into death metal and thrash that everything else that just seemed like bubblegum bullshit to me, right? And also, as a kid, I always had the problem where every time someone would think of heavy metal, like what heavy metal is, they would look at bands like Accept or stuff like that, and like they would be like, oh, well, that's their impression of heavy metal. And in my world, that's not how I perceived heavy metal. You know, for me, heavy metal was thrash, death metal, and stuff like that. So I kind of, you know, obviously I heard W.A.S.P on MTV. A song I liked in particular was when they made the remake of The Real Me. I loved that song as a kid. That was great. So of course I know who Blackie Lawless is. I know who W.A.S.P is. I've heard several of their songs. My wife did a couple of reactions on their channels, which are songs that I haven't heard, by the way, and I found, wow, he was surprisingly beautiful at times. You know, even when he was singing about boning the devil, that was surprisingly sexy. So, you know, I certainly have come around. I'm a more mature guy now, boning the devil, and I am much more open to all sorts of music. So I no longer think that way. I'm just kind of letting you know, like, how did I develop this mindset to where I avoided a lot of these, you know, very popular bands. So I'm going to give this a listen. And if you look here on song meanings, it says, St. Peter at the gates of heaven tells the dying soldier he cannot let her into heaven. Heaven is full and the soldiers must return back to earth, back into the horror of war. The soldier begs to be let in and not to leave them back on earth to suffer more pain, but they must go. I mean, this is, I don't know if this guy is right, but this is very moving what he's saying here. But he's saying they must be sent back because there's no more room from heaven because too many people have died in battle at one time. Apparently heaven has a bottleneck, you know, who knew? But very sad because, you know, like one of my triggers is, you know, how we treat vets and how we approach war and the callousness and the nonchalance of, you know, people sending so many young to war. Some of these guys never even seeing war themselves. It's so easy to fight a battle when you're not the one who has to be on the battlefield. So stuff like this really triggers me hard. He continues, Blackie Lawless stated he got the idea from the Civil War when Lincoln was told the total loss in the Battle of Gettysburg. He said, tonight, the heavens are hung in black. Yeah, so I always wonder, you know, because I talk a lot about religion and stuff, and I fully believe that believing, you know, setting your belief systems on make-believe things is a weak foundation. But I often do wonder if, as humans, we are ever capable of, you know, if we eliminate this or that, if we are ever capable of finding or not finding something new to fight over. You know, it's kind of like that. I think about that South Park episode where it was anti-religion, where everything was secular, but it was otters and they were fighting over the right way to crack open a nut or something. And it's that, you know, you wonder, is this an issue of belief or is this just an issue of our limitations as a species and how far we maybe haven't yet evolved to where we are still too animalistic or still too tribal or still too territorial. You know, we still have the traits of our ancestors to where we haven't quite evolved enough. Like we have, of course, we're self-aware, but we don't have a deep enough level of consciousness. And I'm not saying everyone, of course, but it's almost seems to be en masse that we are dumber than we are smarter. When you kind of look around and you see how much is going on in the world, when you think about the millions and millions of people, how hard it is to really progress as a society because we're being kept down by our dumbest folks, you know, on all sides. So it's very frustrating. So I do wonder, and this is kind of like a frustration to that. So let's give this a listen and see what's up. All right, I'm trying to see which version I should do. I should just listen to the song because I think these are fan-made videos. Okay, screw it. Let's just go with the one with the highest views. Oh shit. Some men you just can't reach. Nah, that's the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. I'm smiling, but it's sad as fuck. See, I didn't even know Blackie was like capable of music like this.
I can't take anymore. I have no more wings. I can't take anymore. The gates of heaven sealed. Don't you hear me? Don't you hear me? Don't you fear me? Of never coming back. Do you know what it's like?
Okay, this is really good. I want to see the video. Even if it's a fan-made video, I want to experience some visuals with this, but this is beautiful. I recognize the movie. Is this right?
I can't take anymore. I have no more wings. I can't take anymore. The gates of heaven sealed. Don't you hear me? Don't you hear me? Don't you fear me? Of never coming back. Do you know what it's like? When heaven's hung in black. I can't take anymore. Walls of black and bleed. I can't take anymore. No
voice.
You say that I've no time. Am I blind? Now you say that heaven's blind. Yeah. Across the bridge of sighs, blind. Time, oh Lord, don't you leave me to die. No, don't you leave me to die. Don't you leave me to die.
Shit, the video was a mistake.
Don't you leave me to die. And you know what it's like, the wailing wall of sighs, hanging heaven black. And you know what it's like, when paradise is blind, painting heaven black. Across the bridge of sighs, you're losing heaven's light, heaven's hung in black.
We got two solos in this one. Thought I was gonna do an easy warm-up. Not quite as easy as I was expecting. See, Aaron, I thought you were gonna hit me with a rock tune. I didn't know you were gonna hit me with another one of his ballads. And I learned pretty quickly that he's dangerous with these ballads, man. Especially, I do remember when I did a W.A.S.P reaction for my wife. I went over his old interviews when he was, you know, changing his mindsets a little bit and becoming more mature, more emotional, and more conscious. And this is like one of his conscious moments here. And man, obviously he was thinking Civil War when he wrote this, but it's relevant, as you can see, to any war. And this must be a foreign movie, because I think I've seen almost every American war movie. There's these weird moments, and like in this movie, where you have the two enemies, but you know, both of them are basically messed up. And there's a moment where you're just not fighting because it doesn't matter at this point. And it's so weird. It's so weird as a rational person. It's so weird. It's so hard to watch stuff like this happen. Because, I mean, at no point can I stop looking at you as what you are. You know what I mean? I can't do that thing where you're this blatant enemy. I get what's happening, because in this situation it wouldn't matter, because I would have to defend myself, because that person is probably doing it, you know, brainwashed or completely filled with. It's interesting, the Ukrainian-Russian war, or I should say the Russian invasion, is not a war, because Ukraine is not sitting there. They're literally just trying to defend themselves. It's not like there's an invasion on both sides here. It is not the same for you Putin idiots. You know, you've been hearing the stories of, for example, the Russians who either give up, or, I mean, there's so much confusion. They're taking their phones away so their families don't know what's happened to them. You know, there's been defectors. You know, there's been so much going on, because it's such a weird thing, because usually you can easily invade a side where the people are different from you. But in this case, there's such similarities there. It's so awkward. And you know, the Civil War is one of those kinds of wars where we're literally attacking our own. Just the fact that we're capable of that. It's one of the reasons why I get so emotional so easily, because it's like all of that is so clear and obvious to me, and I don't know why it's not so clear and obvious to everyone. I don't know how you're capable of othering so easily. I don't know the mindset behind it. Keep on rocking on, man. So that was great, man. Velvety voice, killer ballads. And you know, I guess I need to stop putting off his songs, because so far, like, everything that I've heard from him that I've reacted to, either my wife alone, us together, or even now, has been really good. I mean, I understand the guy has been a staple for a long time and nobody said he was bad, but I'm just surprised at how interesting. It's not just, you know, it's that it's good music or it's, you know, typical heavy metal. It's actually interesting, you know, subject matter wise, texture wise, emotional. You know, I'm surprised at how emotional I've been with some of his songs. It's fascinating. So I'll explore it further. Thank you, Aaron, for going ahead and putting another one in my belt here. And yeah. I mean, you know, at my age, it's weird because, yeah, I mean, this music sounded old when it was new to me when I was young. It's weird. But now that it is old, it doesn't sound that old. And there is still like a nostalgia factor that makes me feel good. I receive it differently now, and I think I'm in a place where I can receive it in a much better light. Like I even, it's still on my Patreon. We did a reaction to Accept, and Accept is like, the only thing I knew about Accept was like balls to the wall, and that's as, you know, traditional heavy metal as you're going to get, right? And that was, it harkened me back to like an old 80s movie where the young kid was driving a Camaro, like from the Stranger Things and stuff like that kind of stereotype. But it made me feel good. It like made me, like, put me in his shoes, and I was like there, and I was digging it, which is so strange because I would just absolutely clown on that kind of music when I was a kid. And now, like, I get it, you know, I get it. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe. I shouldn't have to tell you. I mean, nobody should have to say this anymore. Everyone should know. You're big enough. You're old enough. I'm going to stop saying it. You're old enough to know whether or not you want to like or subscribe to something. So if you want to see more videos, you can go ahead and do that. And I love you all. I will see you on the next one. Keep it metal. You know how we do. Bye.